The smoke smell never really left the valley. Weeks had passed, but Eli Drayton could still taste ash on his tongue when he breathed in. He stood at the edge of his ruined field before sunrise, a dark line against a gray sky. Rows of black stalks reached up like broken fingers. The barn was a skeleton. The farmhouse was a shell. Wind moved through empty windows and made a low, hollow sound like the place was sighing. Eli had only one arm, the left. The right he had lost in a border war years ago. He had learned to do everything with the left. Hitch the plow, fill the feed, open the gate, tie his boots. But this fire had done more than take wood and grain. It had taken the quiet trust he had in the land. The valley had always paid back what he gave. Now it stared at him like a stranger. On the porch step he kept a cracked mug and a thin tablet. The mug held strong coffee. The tablet held a decision. He had looked at that decision every night for 3 nights. This time he made himself press the final button. The ad was simple. Intergalactic match program. Practical partners for settlers. Honest work. Mutual support. Contracts legal across 5 systems. The price was terrible for a man with empty pockets. He had sold his last cattle trailer and the spare generator to cover the fee. He did not like the feeling in his chest when he wired the credits. It felt like failure. It felt like a man buying a life because he could not win one back with his own hands, but he needed help. 2 human workers had said they were sorry and moved on when they saw the ruins. Too much risk, they said. One had spat into the dust and walked away. Machines would cost more than rebuilding the house. He could not plow, seed, build, and guard nights by himself. So he had chosen a partner, sight unseen, from a list of profiles with short, flat lines. Age, skills, languages, willing to travel. Her name on the form was Lyra. No family name, no house, just Lyra. The note under skills read soil chemistry, hydrografting, light machinery, conflict de-escalation, conflict de-escalation. He had snorted at that. The valley did not need negotiators. It needed hands. Still, he had clicked the box. The shipping dock at North Outpost pinged him a delivery window. Dawn, 7th day. He washed the ash from his face, put on his best shirt, clean but thin at the elbows, and waited. The shuttle landed quiet, the way modern shuttles do, like a low breath instead of a roar. Morning light ran along its hull. Eli stood straight. He did not have much to offer. One blackened valley and a name, but he could stand straight. The hatch opened. She stepped down. He had met aliens before, in markets in the war, but this felt different. In markets, you only look long enough to trade. In war, you don't look long at all. Now he had to look. Lyra was tall, with soft silver skin that changed a little in the light, like water when you move your hand through it. Her hair was dark and tied back. Her eyes were not human green or human gray. They glowed in a gentle way, like moss under moonlight. She wore simple travel cloth and carried one small case. No big trunk, no display of wealth. Just the case, her steady step, and a calm face. Eli Drayton? She asked. Her voice was low and smooth. Not shy, not proud. Careful. That's me, he said. He lifted his left hand. She saw the missing right arm and her face did not change. No pity, no flinch. He liked that more than he expected. I am Lyra, she said. The agency sent the full contract to your tablet already. I have signed my part. May I see your fields? He almost laughed. Most people said, I'm sorry for your loss, or what happened here? Lyra asked to see the fields. He pointed with his chin. This way, they walked. Black soil pressed under their boots with a dull crunch. Charcoal smell grew stronger near the barn. The metal roof lay twisted in the dirt like a dead animal. Eli kept his face blank. If he let his mind slide, he would see the fire again. The red leap, the fast run, the sound of boards popping like fireworks. He would see himself trying to lift the pump with one arm, cursing the way it bucked against his ribs as he dragged it toward the flames. No good. No good. Wind came down from the ridge. He said so he didn't see it. Took the small grass first. Then the barn. Then the house. I had water, but not enough pressure. The ground was too dry. Lyra crouched and touched the soil with the back of her fingers. Her eyes brightened, then dimmed. He did not know if that was something her species did when thinking, or if she had some little machine in her skin. She rubbed ash between her fingers and lifted it to her nose. Not just wind, she said. There is accelerant residue. Petroalcohol, common, human. Did anyone see strangers near your land? Eli felt the old clean heat of anger. He knew the smell too. and he had seen a half-track on the ridge 2 days before the burn. He had not been sure, and he had not wanted to speak it before he had proof. A neighbor owed him a sum. Another neighbor wanted his spring. Words, motives, no proof. He pressed his tongue to his teeth and kept walking. No, he said. No one saw anything clear. Lyra stood. We will find out. But first we rebuild. He stopped and turned. Why did you come? He asked. The question came out too flat. He did not mean it to sound like a test, but maybe it was. Lyra met his eyes. Because I chose new life. I had an old life that was heavy with names. I set those names down. I chose work with my own hands. The agency offered a list. Your name was on it. I read your war record. I read that you kept 3 people alive in a brown zone for 2 days with one arm. I thought, here is a person who does not lie to himself. So I came. The words were simple, but the meaning hit him like a small, solid stone. He swallowed. All right, he said. All right. We'll start with water. Without water, we're dead. By noon, Lyra had seen every corner of the land. She did not talk much, but when she did, it mattered. Here, she said near the stream, the bank is narrow. We can seed root mat to hold it. At the house, she tapped the stone foundation. Stone is fine. The heat was high but short. We can set new frame. At the barn, she drew a quick rectangle in the ash with the tip of her boot. We can build a small machine shed first, not a full barn. Tools under cover before animals. I don't have tools, Eli said. The words tasted bitter. He hated saying them. They burned. Lyra looked at his 2 hands, one and the absence of one. We have hands, she said simply. We borrow tools. We make friends. And we make new tools piece by piece. They ate at the porch step, cornbread from his emergency box and dried fruit from her case. She ate slow, like a person who does not rush anything. He watched the way she held the cup, the way her eyes moved over the valley as she learned it. She noticed things he stopped noticing long ago. The tilt of a fence post, the way the ridge shadow moved at noon, the sound of a hawk far up that meant mice were still here. You do not see hawks in empty valleys. In the afternoon, Lyra asked to see the well. The well cap was warm metal under the sun. Eli lifted it with his left hand and his hip, grunting from the old scar that ran along his ribs. Lyra watched and then stepped back to give him space. She did not jump in to help before he asked. He liked that too. She took a small crystal from her case, passed it over the well mouth, and nodded once. Water is safe, she said. We can use it. He laughed a little then, nothing more than a breath. Good, that's good. They worked until shadows grew long. Eli cut planks out of what was left of the porch roof. Lyra carried them one by one to the machine shed spot. He measured with old string, drove stakes with a hammer and a flat stone because the real hammer had bent in the fire. She held the string and checked the angle with a tiny level that she had in her case. You carry a level? He asked once, surprised. I like true lines, she said. When the dark finally came, they were dirty in a clean way, the way that work makes you, not ash. Eli lit a small lamp. The lamp made a warm island in the night. Coyotes called in the distance, soft and far. Lyra sat at the foot of the porch and cleaned her fingers with a strip of cloth. He did the same. For a moment, the land did not feel like a stranger. It felt like a friend in pain. He looked at her case. It was still closed. You traveled light, he said. She nodded. I do not need much. What do you keep in there? He asked lightly, trying to make the evening less heavy. Useful things, she said. She set the case beside the porch post and rose. Eli, may I walk the boundary? I want to see the hill crest at night, he frowned. After dark? There are holes where the fence burned. I will be careful. He did not like the idea. Take the lamp. I will see fine, she said, and he remembered then that her eyes had a faint glow. She picked up nothing, not even a stick, and walked off toward the barn. Her steps were very quiet. He listened until the sound blended with the crickets. He told himself not to be foolish. She was a grown person from a place where people travel stars. She could walk a boundary. Still, after a while, he rose and followed far behind. No lamp, feet soft. He did not mean to spy. He only meant to make sure she did not fall in a hole. Clouds slid over the moon. The burned barn looked like a dark tooth against the sky. Lyra did not go to the hill crest. She went to the barn ruins and stopped. Eli stopped too and lowered himself behind a low tumble of brick. He did not know why his heart beat faster. Maybe it was the way she stood, very still, listening to something he could not hear. She knelt and touched the ground. The ash there glowed faintly under her hand, as if her skin called to some hidden light below. She brushed back a thin layer of soot and revealed a small metal square, no wider than a palm. She pressed 2 fingers to it. The square lit, very soft. It was not human make. He had seen enough gear in the war to know that. The square made no sound, but he felt the air shift as if a tiny breath went in and out. Lyra spoke with her head bowed, voice low. "I reached the surface," she said, but she was not talking to him. "Do not signal again. The path is not safe." "I will handle it." Silence. The square pulsed once like a heartbeat. Eli could not help himself. He leaned closer. His boot slid on a bit of slick ash. The sound was not loud, but in the still night it felt like a shout. Lyra's head turned. Her eyes found him at once, bright in the dark. For a second neither moved. He stood, dusted ash from his knee with his left hand, and walked into the small lamp of her device's glow. He kept his face plain. "You are up late," he said. "So are you," she answered. They looked at each other. He pointed at the metal square. "What's that?" "A communicator," she said. "I figured." "Who are you talking to?" "My old life," she said. The simple words did not fit the weight in her voice. Eli breathed slow. "Is your old life going to come here?" "Maybe," she said. "If we are clumsy." "We?" "Yes, Eli Drayton. If we are clumsy." She held his gaze for another second. "I will tell you what you need to know to keep this land safe. Not more than that." Not yet. He should have been angry. A person had walked onto his land with secrets under the barn, after the fire, after his money and his hope. But he was not angry. He was alert. He was alive in the way you are when you feel a path underfoot in a dark place and you know you can walk it if you place your feet right. "All right," he said. "Here is what I need to know tonight. Will your old life bring trouble to my valley?" Lyra looked past him at the black field. Her voice, when it came, was soft. "Trouble may already be here. Someone burned your farm with human fuel. Someone wanted you weak. Fire eats fast and hides tracks. Whoever did that thinks you are finished. I do not think you are finished. I think they made a mistake." "What mistake?" "They left one stubborn man alive," she said. "And they did not see that I have more than 2 hands to bring." He glanced at her case again. "Useful things," he said. "Very useful," she answered. He nodded slowly. "Then here is the rule," he said. "On my land we say the truth we can. If there is truth you cannot say yet, you tell me there is more. No sweet words, no lies. I can stand secrets if they keep us breathing and keep us building. I cannot stand pretty lies. Do we agree?" Lyra studied his face. The glow from the little square made a halo on her hands. "We agree," she said. Then she pressed 2 fingers to the device again and the light faded down to nothing. She covered it with ash and stood. They walked back to the porch in silence. The wind came down from the ridge and lifted a little ash into the night. At the steps, Lyra turned. "Tomorrow we start early," she said. "We will dig a trench for a new line. Your well is good, but the pressure is not. I can make a small booster with parts from the outpost. If we have water, we have life." Eli's eyes went to the dark ridge, the place where he had seen the half-track days before. He felt the old heat again and the new steadiness that came from work done side by side. "Tomorrow we start early," he said. Lyra nodded once and moved to the small cot he had set up under the porch roof. He lay on the floor inside the house shell, near the open window where the night air could move. He did not sleep right away. He listened. Somewhere out there, coyotes called. Closer to the barn, the ash settled with tiny clicks. On the porch, Lyra's breathing slowed and evened. Eli closed his eyes and saw water running in a new pipe. Green sprouts pushing up through black soil, a shed roof that did not leak, and a valley that remembered his name. He also saw a clean, silent ship crossing the sky, bringing a past he did not know and maybe could not stop. He did not know yet that both things would come true. Just before sleep took him, a thought moved through his mind and settled like a stake driven straight and true. He had ordered a bride to save his farm. But she had brought something else, the first thin line of hope, bright as a blade in the dark. The sun climbed slow over the valley, soft gold spilling across the burned land. A new sound joined the morning wind, the rhythmic scrape of shovels and the hum of a small water pump. Eli and Lyra worked side by side since dawn. The trench she had planned was halfway done, a line cutting through the black earth like a wound beginning to heal. Eli's arm ached, but he didn't stop. Every time he paused, he saw Lyra working silently, measured, graceful, never resting longer than a breath. She carried 2 buckets at once, one in each hand, moving as if the weight meant nothing. He didn't understand how she stayed calm under this hard sun, but her calm kept him moving too. When they rested at noon, Eli filled 2 cups from the well. Lyra took hers, studying the surface of the water. "Pressure improved," she said. Eli chuckled. "You sound like one of those inspectors," she smiled faintly. "I like when things improve." They sat in the shade of the half-built shed. For a while, neither spoke. The wind brought the smell of dust and far grass. Eli finally said, "Last night you said someone might have burned the farm on purpose. You still think that?" Lyra's eyes turned toward the ridge. "Yes, someone wanted to make you leave. The pattern of burn tells me that. It started along your fence, not in your buildings. That means someone carried fuel." Eli nodded slowly. "I thought the same, but I can't prove it." "You will not need to," Lyra said quietly. "Proof will come on its own." Her voice had a strange weight, like she knew more than she was saying. Eli studied her. "You've been around trouble before, haven't you?" Lyra met his gaze. "Yes. Trouble taught me how to rebuild." That night, when Eli finished repairing the last fence post, he saw something strange. Small lights flickering under the soil where Lyra had been working earlier. Not bright, just little pulses, like tiny stars breathing beneath the dirt. He crouched and brushed the surface. The lights vanished. He looked toward the barn, but Lyra wasn't there. She stood by the stream, hands deep in the water, whispering something in her alien language. The words sounded soft and sad, like a prayer. Eli waited until she returned. "What were you doing?" Lyra wiped her hands on her pants.
"Checking the flow."
"Water tells truth faster than people." He gave a tired smile. "And what truth did it tell?" "That your valley still wants to live," she said simply. He wanted to ask about the glowing soil, about the little device he saw last night. But he didn't. She was helping. That was enough for now. Days passed. Together they built a shelter, small but solid. Lyra's ideas made everything faster. She mixed alien crystal dust into the wood seal, making it fireproof. The new pump she designed ran twice as strong as before. Eli couldn't explain how she knew these things. When he asked, she only said, "I studied many places before I came here." Eli started to notice changes in her. She laughed now softly when the wind blew sawdust into her hair. She hummed while they worked. Once, she even teased him when he dropped a nail. "A man who fought a war," she said, "but can't win against one little nail." He grinned. "I only fight things that bleed." Lyra looked at him, serious now. "Then fight your fear, Eli Drayton. It bleeds more than anything." Her words stuck with him all day. One evening, rain rolled over the valley. The first soft rain since the fire. Eli stood under the shed roof and watched water strike the soil. The smell of wet ash filled the air. Lyra walked out into the rain and lifted her face, eyes closed. Drops ran down her silver skin, making her glow. He felt a strange pull watching her. It wasn't just beauty. It was something larger, like the land itself had found a heartbeat again. "Come inside," he called. "You'll get cold." "I do not get cold," she answered, voice full of quiet joy. "I have missed rain." After a while, she returned to the porch, drenched but smiling. Eli handed her a blanket. "You miss your home," he said. "Yes," she whispered. "But I do not want to go back." He looked at her curiously. "Why not?" Lyra hesitated. "Because home was not freedom. I was born into a family that wanted me to marry a leader I did not choose. When I refused, they stripped my name, my titles, and my rights. I left before they could cage me again." Eli frowned. "So you came here to a burned farm, to a man with one arm?" Lyra smiled softly. "To a man who builds, not commands." She turned her gaze toward the dark horizon. "But I made enemies by leaving. They may come." "Come here?" Eli asked, half in disbelief. "Yes," she said. "I used my family's old credits to buy passage here. That wealth still exists, and they will not forgive that." Eli leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "So you're rich?" "I was," she said. "Now I use what I have left to rebuild this place. I send small transfers through that communicator you saw. It reaches my hidden account. I convert that credit to human tools." Eli rubbed his chin. "That's how you bought those parts?" "The pipes, the pump?" She nodded. "Yes, but every signal I send could be traced. If they find me, they will take everything back and maybe burn again." Eli was silent for a long time. The rain softened outside, tapping gently on the roof. Then he said, "You should have told me." Lyra met his eyes. "Would you have let me stay if I did?" He thought about it. He remembered the empty valley, the ash, the long nights of silence. Then he said, "Yes, because this land needed you, and maybe I did too." Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "Then we stand together," she said. The next day a shadow passed over the farm. A small drone buzzed across the sky. Nothing unusual for traders, but Eli noticed how Lyra stiffened. She followed it with her eyes until it vanished behind the hills. "That's not a trader's drone, is it?" he asked. "No," she said. "That's a seeker." Eli felt his gut tighten. "They found you?" "Not yet," she said. "But they will search again." She went inside and opened her case for the first time. Inside were 3 strange metal rods, each glowing faint blue. She pressed them into the soil outside the barn. "What are those?" Eli asked. "Wards," she said. "They will confuse sensors. It will buy us time." "Time for what?" "To finish what we started. To make this place strong enough that even if they come, we can stay." Eli looked at her half in awe. "You talk like you've done this before." Lyra smiled sadly. "Rebuilding after destruction is a kind of war. I have fought that kind before." As dusk fell, they stood together at the edge of the field. Lightning flashed far away, silent behind the hills. The valley smelled like wet soil and new life. Eli said quietly, "You could have gone anywhere." "Why here?" Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "Because when I saw your name, I saw a man who had lost something too. 2 broken lives might fit together better than 1 whole and 1 empty." Eli didn't know what to say. He only nodded. That night, as they worked late repairing the final fence, a message signal blinked from beneath the barn floor. Lyra's communicator flashing red for the first time. She froze. "They found the trace," she whispered. Eli stepped beside her, jaw set. "Then we don't run," he said. "We build faster." Lyra looked at him, fear in her eyes for the first time, but also trust. "Yes," she said. "We build faster." Outside, the stars burned bright and cold. Somewhere beyond them, ships began to move. The next morning, the valley was quiet. Too quiet. Even the birds that usually sang before dawn were gone. Eli noticed it first while tightening the new pump line. The air felt heavy, like the sky was waiting for something. Lyra came out of the shed, her silver skin catching the early light. She looked up, then down at the soil, her face pale and tense. "They're close," she whispered. Eli set the wrench aside. "Who?" "The ones from my world," Lyra said softly. "They traced the last transfer. They are coming." He didn't ask how she knew. He had seen enough of her strange tools to trust that she could sense things no human could. He looked around. The half-built barn, the trench line, the field just starting to show green. It wasn't much, but it was life again. He clenched his left hand. "Then we stand our ground," he said. Lyra turned to him, her eyes shining faintly. "Eli, if they come, they will not ask. They will take me back. They believe I belong to them." Eli stepped closer. "Nobody belongs to anyone," he said. Not here, she wanted to believe him. But the fear in her voice showed she knew how powerful her pursuers were. Still, she didn't run. Together, they prepared. By noon, a thin silver light appeared in the sky, a ship descending fast. The clouds split open like curtains of smoke, and the wind whipped across the valley. The ground shook when the ship landed near the ridge, its engines sending ripples through the fields. Eli stood at the edge of the farm, his coat snapping in the wind. Beside him, Lyra's hands trembled, not from fear but from anger. The ship door opened and 3 figures stepped out, tall, armored, faces hidden behind glass helmets that reflected the sun. A voice rang out, calm and commanding. "Princess Lyra of House Varn, by decree of the Royal Council, you are to return immediately. Your unauthorized departure violates interstellar law." Lyra's jaw tightened. "I have no house," she called back. "I left it behind." The lead guard stepped forward. "You left with wealth that was not yours. It belongs to your family's estate." "I used it to build," she said firmly, "not to destroy." Eli felt the weight of every word. He walked forward until he stood beside her. "You can't take her," he said, voice steady. "This is my land." The alien guard tilted his head, amused. "A human farmer challenges the royal house of Varn?" Eli's eyes narrowed. "A man defends what's his. You want her, you'll have to burn my farm again." The guards raised their weapons, sleek metal rods glowing at the tips. Eli didn't flinch. He had faced worse odds with one arm and half the gear. He picked up a simple shotgun, its barrel scarred and old, but his hand didn't shake. Lyra stepped in front of him. "No, Eli, they will kill you." He shook his head. "Maybe, but not before I make them remember my name." Then something changed. The soil beneath their feet began to hum. The rods Lyra had placed days ago glowed bright blue, sending lines of light crawling through the ground like veins. The guards paused, confused. Lyra's voice rose above the wind. "This land recognizes me now. I made it alive. It is mine by right of creation." A deep tone echoed through the valley, like a drumbeat from the earth itself. The ship's sensors flickered. Their shields cracked. The guards looked around, uncertain. Eli's farm, once black and dead, was shining. Green shoots pushed through the soil, glowing faintly under the alien energy. "What is this?" one guard shouted. Lyra's voice grew stronger. "A bond between two worlds. You came for a runaway, but you stand on living soil bound by my mark. This place will not obey you." Eli grinned faintly. "Guess we've got home field advantage." The guards fired their weapons. Blue energy cut across the field, hitting the glowing roots. The light scattered, harmless. Lyra lifted both hands, palms out, and the rods responded. A barrier of light shimmered between her and the guards. One of them tried to rush forward, but the soil beneath his feet erupted, sending him flying backward into the dirt. The ship's engines roared in panic, trying to lift, but the energy lines wrapped around it like chains. Lyra's skin glowed brighter, veins of silver pulsing with power. Eli could see it was costing her strength, but she didn't stop. "Go back," she shouted. "Tell them I have chosen my place." The lead guard steadied himself. "You would throw away a crown for him?" He pointed at Eli. Lyra's voice softened. "I would trade every crown for one honest hand that stays beside me." Eli's chest tightened. He wanted to speak, but no words came. He only reached out with his left hand and gripped her arm. That was enough. The guards exchanged glances. They knew the battle was lost. The leader touched his wrist console and the ship began to pull free, rising unevenly. "This is not the end," he said coldly. "Your wealth, your name, they will be erased." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then I am free." The ship lifted, engines whining, then disappeared into the clouds. The wind settled. The valley went quiet again. Only the hum beneath the soil remained, soft and steady. Lyra collapsed to her knees. The glow faded from her skin. Eli caught her before she fell. Hey, easy," he said. "You did it." She looked up at him, weak but smiling. "We did it." He carried her to the porch and sat her down. She leaned against him, breathing slowly. "The energy I used, it tied to this land now. It will keep growing. You will have crops again soon." Eli shook his head in disbelief. "You turned a burned field into a living one." Lyra smiled faintly. "It's not magic. It's science mixed with hope." He looked at her for a long moment. "Hope," he said softly. "Haven't had much of that lately." "You have more than you think," she whispered. Weeks passed. The farm changed faster than Eli could believe. The soil turned rich and dark again. Crops grew thick and green. The shed became a proper barn, half alien metal and half human wood. At night, the stars reflected in the irrigation pools Lyra had designed. Sometimes they worked in silence. Sometimes they laughed. The scars on the land and on Eli's heart began to fade. Lyra never spoke of her old world again. She didn't need to. The valley was her world now. One evening they sat together watching the twin suns set beyond the ridge. The sky burned orange and gold, painting their faces with light. Eli turned to her. "You ever think they'll come back?" "Maybe," she said. "But they'll find nothing to take. My wealth is buried in this soil now. It feeds life, not greed." Eli nodded slowly. "And if they do come, they'll find both of us waiting." Lyra smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. Together, for a long time, they said nothing. The wind carried the sound of the new crops moving gently, whispering like waves. Eli looked out at his reborn farm, the land he thought he'd lost forever. "You know," he said, "I ordered a bride to help me rebuild." Lyra chuckled softly. "And what did you get instead?" He looked at her, eyes warm. "Someone who rebuilt me." Lyra's smile widened. "Then I suppose we both got more than we paid for." The stars came out one by one, bright and endless. In their soft light, a one-armed man and a silver-skinned woman sat side by side, two broken souls who had turned loss into life, and a burned field into a living home. He had ordered a bride to save his farm, but she had given him a reason to live again.